To Allah, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon His Prophet Muhammad sallallahu and those who follow in his footsteps till the last day. We have talked about al-ahkam al-shar'iyya. This is, the title of al-ahkam we are talking about. And usually the ulama start with this after defining what's usool al-fiqh. And before even delving on the talking about the sources of usool al-fiqh. So they say that al-ahkam al-shar'iyya is divided into two categories, al-ahkam al-taklifiyya and al-ahkam al-wad'iyya. And we said al-ahkam al-taklifiyya are the ahkam which pertains to the actions of the addressee, or the addressed person, or those who are the place where the rulings of Sharia are applicable to them. The men and jinn and human beings, they should have reached the puberty or the adolescence, so that they can be addressed by such rulings. For sure, we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exempted, the three categories or three types of beings: the insane, which is the known till he recovers from that state, and the one who sleeps till he wakes up, and the ghulam, the boy, till he reaches the adolescence. So those are exempted from the ahkam shar'iyya, and we look into all of the ahkam shar'iyya as a whole. Those pertains to iman, or those pertains to the belief, the heart, or those to the actions. However, al-ahkam al-taklifiyya are only pertaining to the actions, and they are divided into 5 categories, as we mentioned: wajib, or sometimes called fard, or sometimes called rukn, and or lazim, and the mustahab, the recommended, commendable action, which was recommended by the Sharia, or which was used to be done by the Prophet ﷺ, as will come in the definition. And the mubah, the most permissible, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made, for the choice of the person to do or not to do. This in general. And then the disliked, the makruh, and then the forbidden, which is a muharram. So we have 5 categories pertaining to the actions. And we have ahkam wad'iyya, which are pertaining to the what you can say, the circumstances or the reasons, okay, or the preventions that prevent a person from these rulings. And when we come to the salah, hukm taklifi for the believer is to look into the salah. If it is one of the obligatory salats, then it is wajib, mandatory or obligatory or fard on him to do. However, if we look into the salah itself, when it is done by the person, is it done in the right manner, correct, or it is void, invalid? So this is the ahkam wad'iyya, okay? It pertains to the action, but after it is being done, or the contracts and its conditions, setting condition for the contracts. So we say this contract is valid contract as per Sharia, or it complies and to the Sharia, or it is it's void, or it's invalid in accordance to the Sharia, like the dealings in buying and selling, and so on, like the ahkam of marriage. If a person was doing Hajj, okay, coming to do a marriage contract while he is in ihram, state of ihram, is, as we know, forbidden for him, and it is invalid. Even if it is done, it becomes invalid. Also the preventions. There might be a mani' which prevents a person from doing such ibadah, like the menses for the woman. It is a prevention for her to do the salah, and so on. Inshallah, we'll come to this in details. The matter is to differentiate between الأحكام الوضعية and الأحكام التكليفية. Today we reached, we stopped actually last time at the mustahab, the recommended, and the definition of it. Okay, so if you go inshallah to which page, Sheikh?
We finished page number 34. We should start from page 35, Mandub.
Okay, تفضل. Bismillah.
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Mandub, recommended. Linguistically, it is the past principle of the verb nadaba, meaning to invite towards an action. Technically, mandub means whatever earns its doer blessings, but if he does not do it, he is not penalized. It is an act that the legislator commands, but not as an obligation. Synonyms for mandub are sunnah, mustahab, and tatawwu'. The opinion of the majority of scholars is that the mandub is commanded. Their proof is what Allah says in the Quran. Inna Allaha, page number 36. Inna Allaha ya'muru bil adli wal ihsani wa ita'i dhil qurba, which means Allah commands justice, the doing of good, and spending on close relatives. Surah An-Nahl, verse number 90. Also, wa'mur bil ma'ruf, command what is just. Surah Luqman, verse number 17. And from among the things that Allah has commanded are things that are mandub, recommended. Also, a command is an invitation and a request, and the mandub is what is invited and requested to be done, and as such, mandub is commanded.
Okay. Right. Now he's talking about al-mandub, and he said it is part of the commands. And no doubt, we mentioned before that the wajib itself has ranks. So there are great wajibs, and there are less, in degree than that great wajib. So, for example, making salah, obligatory salah, is no doubt of a great, stance in Sharia. Especially, it is one of the pillars of Islam. Being dutiful to parents is another wajib. Okay, so if, for example, a person was to do salah, which is obligatory, or to respond to his mother or father for some reason, okay, yes, if he can manage, to do both, is better. But if it comes, to balance between the two wajibs, no doubt the wajib to do the salah has the priority, especially if it is a must on him to do it, because, for example, the time will end up, or the jama'ah will, he will miss the jama'ah if it is, mandatory on him to attend the jama'ah. So the degrees of wajib is different. Again, the degrees of orders and the commands of Sharia is of different levels. There is a command that has to be done, okay, by every person, which is the wajib. The command that's, it didn't reach to be done by everybody, like, for example, to be done by some, like, to be, to find a physician who will help the people, in treatment. This is a wajib, but it is wajib kifai. The whole Sharia, the whole ummah should, have medical medical people who are charged to do this. If they don't do, then the entirety of the ummah or the society will be blameworthy and will be liable for punishment. Now, after that, the command that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has praised and He has not, stressed it to be done, and the Prophet ﷺ has given an examples of it. We come to say this is commanded in Sharia. It's an order to be, but this order is less than the wajib, and it is recommended. It is highly recommended. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made these, mandoobs and mustahabs and sunnah in general, and also other voluntary acts, okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it as a protective measure for a person not to miss with the wajibs. So if you find a person who is missing with his obligations, it is due to the fact that he's not doing sunnahs. He's not doing the mustahab. If this person was doing mustahab, it would be less likely that he would miss with the wajibat or the fara'id. If he is doing more voluntary acts, however, especially in compliance and adherence to the Sharia, sincerely for the sake of Allah, and in accordance to the way of the Prophet ﷺ, he will be less likely, to miss with mustahabbat or sunnah mu'akkada, or not to mention that he would be, for example, missing with the wajib. So the mandub is, as he gave the technical meaning, he said whatever earns its doer blessings, but if he does not do it, he is not penalized. He will come, I guess, in the footnote to give more explanation, because can we say, for example, if a person doesn't do the mandub at all, wouldn't he be penalized or punished? The punishment might be coming from another way, which is not, missing with the wajibat, due to the fact that this person was lazy to do the mandubs and the sunnah mu'akkada. He becomes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us, lax or lazy to do the wajibat, or he will miss with the wajibat. And who's among us would be free from missing with the wajibat, because of the our minds sometimes are occupied with worldly affairs. The shaitan whispers a lot, especially when a person comes to the salah. As one of the sheikhs, he said, subhanallah, a person would be, having all of his mind to do the salah. Once he says Allahu Akbar, right away the shaitan will start to remind him with something, that his heart was busy with it. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made before the salah a time for a person to leave things. When he hears the adhan, he repeats with the adhan. So he has the intention to respond to that adhan. Then he goes to make wudu, and making the wudu cleans himself, from such remnants of the affairs of dunya. And then there is a time between the adhan and the iqama. He makes 2 rak'ah, and after that he starts salah. But the shaitan will be so keen to come while you are doing your salah to remind you of something very important. You forgot about it, okay? And one of the sheikhs, he said, once I had, a briefcase with 150,000 riyals, inside it, and I put it in my car, and he was having a pickup, okay? He said, subhanallah, it was, I took my family, so it was difficult to have it in front. I put it in the open space in the pickup, and I forgot about it. It was Adhan Maghrib. I went and I made wudu. After I made my wudu, I made my sunnah, and it was about around 10 minutes or more, for between Maghrib, Adhan and the Iqamah. And then he said, once the Imam said Allahu Akbar, and I started to say Allahu Akbar, the shaitan reminded me right away, what about, the briefcase, which has 150,000 you left in the pickup. Anybody can pick it. He said, Subhanallah, it was a problem to focus on the Salah. He said, I finished my Salah without realizing anything in the Salah. Allah musta'an. So if this happens to, for example, a person who's knowledgeable, what do you think about, a human being who's weak? And he said, why I thought about it? Because it was, a donation should be given to one of the charitable foundations. Allah musta'an. The shaitan will be so keen to, to try to take the person away. So this is one of the things that a person might miss with his obligatory salats. And when it comes to pay for what's missed in his salah, he doesn't have any mustahabbat, he doesn't have any sunan muakkada, he is not doing any voluntary supererogatory salats, then what would make up for such, missed salats? Allah musta'an. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us. He gave some synonyms for that. For mandub is sunnah, mustahab, and tatawwa', okay. And the opinion, as we know, for the majority of the scholars, that it is one branch of commanded, and a person should try his best to do the whatever mustahab, okay, whatever the Prophet ﷺ mentioned and praised and asked the Ummah to do, he should try his best to do it. Okay. Do you want to read?
Yes, sir. Yes. Footnote number 54. As the wajibat have different levels, so do the mustahabbat in emphasis, making some more important than others. For example, in the case of recommended voluntary prayers, witr and the 2 units before obligatory Fajr Salah were never dropped by the Prophet ﷺ as a resident or a traveler. This practice indicates that these 2 prayers were more emphasized than others. There were also other voluntary prayers which he did regularly as a resident but dropped them during travel. They are also considered emphasized sunnah. I think sunnah al-rawatib. Furthermore, there are other voluntary prayers for certain occasions like greeting the masjid, following tawaf, etc. It is considered best that if one begins doing a recommended action, he or she should continue to do it, because Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha quoted the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ أَحَبَّ الْعَمَلِ إِلَى اللَّهِ أَدْوَمُهُ وَإِنْ قَلَّ. Know that the most beloved deeds to Allah are the continuous ones, even if they are little. Sahih Muslim. Regarding the emphasized sunnah, that is sunnah mu'akkada, one who abandons it continuously is blameworthy, like one who completely abandons congregational prayers, according to those who hold that it is sunnah. When Imam Ahmad rahimahullah was asked about one who abandons witr, he said, indeed he is an evil person. Evidences, shall I go through that again, Sheikh?
Yes, that's better.
Yeah.
If you go again.
As the wajibat have different levels, so do the mustahabbat in emphasis, making some more important than others. For example, in the case of recommended voluntary prayers, witr and the 2 units before Fajr Salah were never dropped by the Prophet ﷺ as a resident or a traveler. This practice indicates that these 2 prayers were more emphasized than others. There were also other voluntary prayers which he did regularly as a resident but dropped them during travel. They are also considered emphasized sunnah, I think sunnah muakkada. Furthermore, there are other voluntary prayers for certain occasions like greeting the masjid, following tawaf, etc. It is considered best that if one begins doing a recommended action, he or she should continue to do it, because Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha quoted the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as saying, وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ أَحَبَّ الْعَمَلِ إِلَى اللَّهِ أَدْوَمُهُ وَإِنْ قَلَّ. Know that the most beloved deeds to Allah are the continuous ones, even if they are little. Regarding the emphasized sunnah muakkada, one who abandons it continuously is blameworthy, like one who completely abandons congregational prayers, according to those who hold that it is sunnah. When Imam Muhammad was asked about one who abandons witr prayers, he said, indeed he is an evil person.
Okay.
Continue.
Continue and then I'll go back over that.
Okay. Evidences for mustahab. Number 1, encouragement to do an act, as in the Prophet's statement narrated by Sa'ad radiallahu ta'ala an, خيركم من تعلم القرآن وعلمه. خيركم من تعلم القرآن وعلمه. The best of you is one who learns the Quran and teaches it. Sahih Bukhari. Evidence number 2, mention of the reward for doing an act, as in the Prophet's statement related by Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu ta'ala an, Man bana lillahi masjidan bana Allahu lahu mithlahu fil jannah. Whoever builds a mosque for Allah, Allah will build similar to it in paradise. Sunan ibn Majah. Number 3, a command in a context which negates obligation. For example, prayer before Maghrib in the following hadith narrated by Abdullah al-Muzani. صلوا قبل المغرب ركعتين ثم قال صلوا قبل المغرب ركعتين لمن شاء خشية أن يتخذها الناس سنة. Make 2 units of prayer before Maghrib. Then he said, make 2 units of prayer before Maghrib for whoever wishes, fearing that the people would take it as a fixed sunnah. Sahih al-Bukhari. Number 4, a religious act of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam without evidence to indicate obligation. For example, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam weekly days of fasting. An Abi Hurairata anna Nabiy sallallahu alaihi wasallam kana yasumu al-ithnain wal-khamis faqila ya Rasulullah innaka tasumu al-ithnain wal-khamis faqala inna yawma al-ithnain wal-khamis yaghfiru Allah fihima likulli muslimin illa muhtajirain yaqulu dahuma hatta yastaliha. That means Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala related, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to fast on Mondays and Thursdays. He was asked, O Messenger of Allah, why do you fast on Mondays and Thursdays? He replied, on Mondays and Thursdays Allah forgives on every Muslim except those who boycott each other. Instead he says, leave them until they reconcile.
Okay. طيب, جزاك الله خير. One of the points here we want to mention, and before we forget, we usually like to apply the principles of Usool al-Fiqh to what we study. Some ulama regarded witr as wajib, and the 2 rak'ahs before Fajr as wajib. And as he mentioned here, most of the ulama, they said it is mustahab, it is sunnah muakkada. Why they differed with regard to this? if we look, there is no evidence, if you remember and recall, that one of the Sahaba, Allah pleased with him, negated the obligation of witr by saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has only obliged us to do 5 salats. So if you say there is another salah, this means it's a 6, obligatory salah. In this sense, some ulama, they didn't look at like that. They said, as we say wajibat is of different levels, these are the obligatory salats. But this wajib is due to the fact that the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to do, and he never stopped doing. And they took this why from other evidences, like when he Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made Salatu Tarawih, and the Sahaba stood behind him doing the Salah. The third day, or the fourth night, he left it. He didn't come out for that Salah. And the Sahaba, started bibbling, throwing stones to his door that he might have forgotten. The Prophet ﷺ went out and he said to them, I know you are waiting for that Salah, but I didn't come out today, lest Allah will make it obligatory on you and you won't be able to do it. Okay? So they said, also the Prophet ﷺ, he used to fast to the extent that we would say he won't break his fast, and he would break his fast to the extent that we would say he will not fast anymore. So that it won't be something that the people will look into it as higher than being mustahab. So they said, by leaving the ajr which the Prophet ﷺ said about the sunan muakkada after salat, and those sunan muakkada, except for the 2 rak'ahs before fajr, he never left resident or traveling, and the witr, we come to realize that it is of a very high importance. That's why the ulama differed with regard to it, whether it is wajib, which is below farda, below the other wajibat, or it is sunnah muakkada. However, no doubt that it is one of the great sunnahs of the Prophet ﷺ, and it is man-mount, or it's very close to be a wajib, and a Muslim who's sincere and who's devoted to his deen, he should not abandon it or leave it. Okay, he should not leave witr, at least even if he's so exhausted, to do 1 single rak'ah. Okay, and the 2 rak'ahs before fajr, which is alhamdulillah done by the Prophet ﷺ, very light 2 rak'ahs. And the sunnah is to do it like that, because some people, for example, they think by having 20 minutes, from the adhan of fajr till the iqamah, he can extend his 2 rak'ah, during that time. But it is not. The sunnah is to do it, so light, and very light rak'ahs. You recite in the first rak'ah, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ. You recite in the second, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, or the ayah, قُولُوا آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْنَا وَمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَىٰ إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَإِسْمَاعِيلَ وَإِسْحَاقَ in the first rak'ah. In the second rak'ah, قُلْ يَا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ تَعَالَوْا إِلَى كَلِمَةٍ سَوَاءٍ بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكُمْ. This was mentioned in some of the narrations. But usually, the 2 surahs of Ikhlas, which is Surah Al-Kafirun and Surah Samad, or Surah Qul Huwallahu Ahad, or Surah Al-Ikhlas, to be recited within those 2 rak'ahs. So a person should try to keep on doing these, salat, this witr. So it is mustahab, but it is highly recommended. And we linked it to the Usool al-Fiqh, why the ulama said wajib, and some of them said it is sunnah muakkada. He said also here, he said furthermore, there are other voluntary salats for certain occasions like greeting the masjid. Greeting the masjid, again, many ulama, they regarded it as wajib. Okay, it's a must on a person when he comes to the masjid before he sits to do the tahiyatul masjid. But maybe also the 2 rak'ahs after tawaf, some ulama, they regarded it as wajib and part of doing the tawaf or completion of the tawaf. So it's not only mustahab, it's very high wajib, especially when a person enters the masjid. The Prophet ﷺ said he must not sit till he makes 2 rak'ahs. And the Prophet ﷺ was doing, the khutbah, and the person came and sat, and the Prophet ﷺ asked him whether he had done 2 rak'ahs. He said no. He said then stand up and do 2 rak'ahs. So the Prophet ﷺ, he stopped the khutbah and he directed his speech to this person, inquiring about whether he had done the 2 rak'ah or not. And this person, so he had, he sat down. The Prophet ﷺ asked him to stand up again and to do this 2 rak'ahs in a very light manner. And we can see so many people on the Jum'ah, when they come while the Khatib is doing the khutbah, they sat or they sit. Okay, well, this is actually not in accordance to the Sharia, because once one enters the masjid, it's a must on him to do 2 rak'ah before he sits. Now, so many people, they enter while the adhan for the khutbah is being, pronounced. The adhan for the khutbah and those 2 rak'ah, if we look and compare this, if you follow many people, they will stop following that muazzin and then they do 2 rak'ahs. We would say to them, rather leave this sunnah or mustahab for this wajib to finish it, so that you can listen to the khutbah, which is more of a wajib than that. So you see the layers of wajib here. We have, a sunnah, this sunnah of following the muazzin and, repeating after the adhan. It's sunnah, no doubt about it, but, or mustahab, we can say. But doing the 2 rak'ahs is a wajib. Now, you can delay this if there was no other greater wajib you have to listen to. Listening to the imam is greater. So he has to give up the sunnah and do the 2 rak'ahs while the adhan is being called, so that he can catch up with the greater wajib of listening, to the khatib. Many people, because due to the fact that they don't have the fiqh to realize which has more importance and priority, they might, leave. They might wait or stand, up, repeating after the adhan. After he finishes, even he will make dua, and then he would, make 2 rak'ahs while the khatib is doing that thing. Another thing is like a person, he's doing the 2 rak'ah before Fajr. He just restarted the 2 rak'ah before Fajr, and the muazzin announced iqamah. Now, there is announcing the iqamah will be for the salah, which is obligatory salah. He should leave such sunnah muakkada or a wajib, for some ulama said, for that which is more obligatory. And alhamdulillah, this is at least one should have a balance to weigh things, which is more, which has more priority. Now, this salah, okay, this salah, which is the sunnah of the Fajr, if one does it while the Imam is doing his salah or after the Iqamah is called, the Prophet ﷺ has mentioned there is no salah. If the Iqamah is called, there is no salah to be done except that salah. And if one does that, he violated the Sharia, he violated the Prophet ﷺ, command actually, okay, or prohibition, not to do other salah than that which has been raised. Now, the ulama talked about in details, if this person was in his salah and he's about to finish, they said if he can finish it before the takbiratul ihram for the fariba, it's okay. If he cannot, and he knows from himself he cannot, rather he should leave it. Now, if he can do it swiftly, keeping, the minimal obligations or the minimal arkan correct, then he should do it and finish. If he was at the end by the tashahhud and he has done part of it and he's afraid that he will miss takbiratul ihram, it's better to leave it. He said here, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ أَحَبَّ الْعَمَلِ إِلَى اللَّهِ أَدْوَمُهُ وَإِنْ قَلَّ. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, let it be known that the most beloved, deeds to Allah. And the Prophet ﷺ started by saying, وَاعْلَمُوا. He wants ﷺ for us to look into that and deeply think about it. And we should realize that the best and the most beloved of deeds to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are the continuous ones, even if they are few, even it's, little. So if, for example, someone, wants to give sadaqah 10,000 riyals, but he cannot collect 10,000 to give it sadaqah. Maybe far better than that is to give 1 riyal, 2 riyals, 10 riyals, whenever the time, permits to give sadaqah. Same to the salah. If a person, for example, knows from himself, or if he finds himself so active to do luha 12 rak'ahs or 8 rak'ahs, as mentioned in the sunnah, is it better, and he knows from himself he cannot keep doing luha like that, but if he would keep doing 2 rak'ahs every day, it's better than doing sometimes, 12 rak'ahs or 8 rak'ahs. And a person should look into that, okay? Should look into, for example, a person, he likes to do istighfar, okay? And then instead of some people, for example, with concentration and focus to make it in accordance to the sunnah, 100 times, a day, or 70 times, in each gathering, it's better to do it, even if it was less than that, and one keeps doing it, it's better. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy on us to do that. Now he mentioned what we mentioned. He said regarding the sunnah muakkada, one who abandons it continuously, he doesn't do it at all, is blameworthy. In Sharia, there are the ulama, they said the blame that would come and would encounter this person, it would be so involved, because this person would no doubt miss with his salat. Let's give an example as he gives, the salatul jama'ah, for those who say it is sunnah muakkada, it's not a wajib. So the most correct opinion that if a person is near to the masjid where he can hear the adhan, normally, then without even, the speakers now, normally he can hear the adhan. If the muazzin would call the adhan from outside, he will hear it, okay? Or in his place, the masjid is very adjacent to him, and he can hear the adhan. Now, he should respond to that muazzin. This from other hadiths, okay? And the ulama, they said it's wajib because the Prophet ﷺ, you know, when he mentioned the hadith about, you know, I intended, or I was so resolved to order someone, to order the muazzin to announce the iqamah and ask someone to lead the people in salah, and I would go to a people who lagged behind from doing the salah, and if it was not due to their families, the household, you know, the wives and the children, and their servants who are not obliged to come to salah, I would have burnt their houses on their heads, or as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in the hadith. So the ulama, they said it's wajib. However, for this person who would leave the jama'ah, if it is sunnah mu'akkada, and it's easy for him to attend, if he would leave it, you'll find him sometimes, you know, delaying the salah till the time elapses, or become so lazy to do it. And it would be difficult for him to do the salah in jama'ah. And he might miss other rewards, like what? Like the imam whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would made him to guarantee the salah for those who are behind him. If the salah is, you know, was, you know, messed up by this imam, it won't be the liability of those who are behind him. It will be the liability of the imam, and those will get their reward. As in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, when he talked about ai rulers or leaders who would come and they would miss the salah, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, make the salah with them. If they do it good, it will be for you both. And if it would be missed, then it would be against them, or they will be liable for that. And you would be rewarded, you know, the reward will be for you. So alhamdulillah, this is, you know, to mention this part. And he mentioned what Imam Ahmad rahimahullah mentioned about those who abandon the witr. And he said, يعني, when he was mentioned, he said, ذاك رجل سوء. He said like this, ذلك رجل سوء. And that person is a person who's, يعني, I wouldn't say an evil person is a bit heavy, but a person that who's not, who has not done good, or who has, you know, been, who has done evil. Okay. And we mentioned the evidences of the mustahab, and he said whenever there is encouragement, or the Prophet ﷺ, or in the Sharia mentions the reward for doing an act, okay, or there's you know, a command that we can find from the context that the Prophet ﷺ has not made it obligatory, like you know, the usual example we give about using siwak in salah. And we said that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in the hadith, if it was not a burdensome on my ummah, you know, you know, I would have ordered them to use siwak at every salah. And so this shows us that it takes it a lower degree from being mandatory on the ummah to be, you know, highly recommended, or sunnah mu'akkada, emphasized sunnah. He mentioned in the command, the hadith by Abdullah al-Muzani, he said that the Prophet ﷺ صلوا قبل المغرب ركعتين, and the Prophet ﷺ was recommending them to pray 2 rak'ahs before Maghrib. And the Sahaba, yani, then he said صلوا, then he said for whoever wills, okay. And the خشية أن يتخذها الناس sunnah, this is not from the hadith, this is from the Sahabis. You know, it should have been actually taken out of the hadith, as in the Gaon here, when he translated it, he mentioned he mentioned it out of the context of the hadith. He said, fearing that the people would take it as a fixed sunnah. And the ulama, they said, with regard to this, it's better to do it sometimes and to leave it sometimes, as per the hadith. But if someone, for example, keeps on doing it, nobody can blame him or forbid him from doing so. And he mentioned also the what the Prophet ﷺ used to do about fasting the Mondays and the Thursdays. And in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that he said, O Messenger of Allah, why do you fast on Mondays and Thursdays? He replied, on Mondays and Thursdays, Allah forgives all Muslims and on every Muslim, except those who boycott each other. In that regard, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would say, leave them until they reconcile. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to save us from being boycotted by a Muslim or boycotting a Muslim for no reason but the grudge, for the worldly life. We will inshallah stop here. If you have questions or that need to be answered, inshallah we can answer them. Otherwise, we'll stop here inshallah. Next week, we'll start from the mahzur or the forbidden or the muharram, inshallah. And this will be
I have a question on fiqh. Can I ask, Sheikh?
Yes, it's okay, inshallah. Go ahead.
Yes. It's regarding takbiratul ihram, Sheikh. One, if he misses this, even if he complete the entire salah, the salah is batila, sir.
Yes, if we would say that the person, he hasn't done takbiratul ihram, is your question?
Yes.
Yes, if he has not intended takbiratul ihram, some people, it might be jahl from them to come while the imam is doing ruku', okay?
Yeah.
And instead of doing takbiratul ihram, right, because takbiratul ihram has specific, way to be done. He should do it standing, okay? So this person, he's so keen to catch the rak'ah, he would drop, making ruku' and he says Allahu Akbar while dropping. This is not regarded takbiratul ihram and his salah is invalid.
Okay. My question, Sheikh, takbiratul ihram, is it one of the shart or rukun?
Rukun, because shart is outside. The shart is not the part of shart, like a person should have wudu.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Facing the qibla.
Yes.
Okay? This is shart.
Yes. Yeah. My question continues, Sheikh. For example, the rukun, doing 2 sujood in every rak'ah, these sujood are rukun, right? So if he misses one sujood, and after one he gets up and comes to the i'tidal, and he remembers that he missed one rukun, so that he will not count that particular rak'ah, and then he will add one more rak'ah to complete. Here, he misses one rukun, and then he is making up by adding one more rak'ah. So if takbiratul ihram is a rukun, and why not he not count that first rak'ah and the remaining rak'ah he add one more? This is my question.
Okay. Right. First of all, takbiratul ihram is the what we can say like the commencement in Hajj. Okay, when a person says al-ihlal, okay, to say labbaik Allahumma umratan or labbaik Allahumma hajjan. So to begin a salah, one has to start with takbiratul ihram. If he hasn't started takbiratul ihram, his salah is not yet started. Okay, you got the point?
Right,
but now he has done takbiratul ihram and he started his salah. He's in salah now. When he misses the sujood and he stood up, he should go back to it if he remembers that stance. If he has not remembered, except after reciting, al-Fatiha, okay, we would say, okay, cancel that rak'ah and regard that rak'ah in place of it. Now, when one finishes his salah, okay, there will be as if there is a rak'ah, extra. That's why the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned in his salah, in sujood al-saw, that one would make 2 prostrations for sujood al-saw, and it will make up for any deficiency in salah, or it will make up, for any forgetfulness. If there is an addition, it will be, as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, defeat for the shaitan, okay? Because the shaitan, it's due to the whisperings of the shaitan. So the Prophet ﷺ, the prescriptions of salah and how one commences the salah and ends up his salah is known. It starts by takbir, it ends by taslim. If there is no takbir started, salah is not started. Even if he is, being in that state of doing salah following the imam, he has not started his salah right, okay? And if there is a case, it's better to be, and if there was a case in this regard, because sometimes when we say hypothetical things and theoretical things, not experimental, practical, it might delve into something far-fetched. But it's better when a person, faces a real situation or someone asks to know all the details about it. Like, I mentioned in the case of, coming into the masjid while the imam is in ruku', many people, they miss, the takbiratul ihram by doing it while bowing. He says Allahu Akbar while he's, going to takbir, which is not, he has not, commenced in salah, and he's not in salah at all. Whatever he does is not regarded as a salah, because this is not in accordance to what we know from the Sharia. I hope inshallah clear.
Jazakallah khair, barakallah fiqh, Sheikh. MashaAllah, you clarified my doubt beyond any more doubt. Alhamdulillah, it's very clear, MashaAllah.
Jazakallah khair. May Allah reward you because of your good questions. Jazakallah khair.
Alhamdulillah.
Any more questions, brothers?
Assalamu alaikum. I have a question, but not related to from today's class. Somebody asked me that, like one of my colleagues, he asked me that his relative, he removed some sadaqah money for the whole year last May, and he appointed the third person to give monthly basis the amount to be given to this family, and now as per their need, but now some amount is remaining. So the third person is asking to remove zakah on this sadaqah. So is it necessary to remove zakah on the sadaqah money?
No, this sadaqah, which was one of the conditions for zakah, is the ownership, complete ownership. And this sadaqah actually is not owned by anybody. Okay? It has been taken out of the money of the one who gives it to be outside, and it is for the needs of those people. And it's not yet even in their possession. So it's not, there is no sadaqah, no zakah on it. Okay? Neither from the third party nor from the original party. Okay?
Okay.
Clear, inshallah.
Yeah, Jazakumullah khair. Yes, clear, very clear.
Ameen. Any more questions, brothers? طيب, جزاكم الله خير, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you, reward you. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما يا رب العالمين. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من زوال نعمتك وتحول عافيتك وفجاءة نقمتك وجميع سخطك. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من زوال نعمتك وتحول عافيتك وفجاءة نقمتك وجميع سخطك. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من زوال نعمتك وتحول عافيتك وفجاءة نقمتك وجميع سخطك. اللهم اصلح لنا شأننا كله ولا تكلنا نفسنا طرفة عين. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من البرص والجنون والجذام ومن سيء الأسقام. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من البرص والجنون والجذام ومن سيء الأسقام. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من البرص والجنون والجذام ومن سيء الأسقام. اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية في ديننا ودنيانا وأهلنا ومالنا. اللهم استر عوراتنا واحفظنا من يدينا ومن خلفنا وعن أيماننا وعن شمائلنا ومن فوقنا، ونعوذ بك اللهم أن نغتال من تحت رجلنا. اللهم اغفر لنا ما قدمنا وما أخرنا وما أسررنا وما أعلنا، واجعل ما نتعلمه خالصا لوجهك الكريم موافقا لسنة نبيك الكريم، واجعله نفع لنا في الدارين مباركا علينا وعلى غيرنا يا رب العالمين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. وجزاكم الله خيرا.